where you have, like, every house is occupied by a stereotype that's really nosy.
Yeah, that's not great, but I'm sure that there are just, like, you know, real people that exist and live in suburbs that aren't like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then we meet Larry Pike, who assumes on sight that Sam and Dean are a couple, but they correct him and say that they're looking in the neighborhood for their father. And Larry says the house that they're at is his own personal house. He bought the first one in his own development, which is good marketing.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, it's going to be bad marketing for the next housing development he builds, but good for this one, I guess.
Sure.
And then introduces him to his wife, Joni, and his head of sales, Linda Bloom, who's the second occupant of the neighborhood. Linda also assumes that they're a couple, but Dean just rolls with it this time, calls Sam honey, and gives him a little cheeky pat on the ass.
Why do people always assume they're a couple?
I don't know. This was the start of it. This is the first time it's happened, really. It's like a long-running gag. It's a little bit homophobic, but it's fine. And then we meet Matt Pike, who's portrayed by Tyler Johnson, who has a recurring role starting in, I believe, season 8 of Supernatural.
Yep.
And also is a series regular as one of my family's favorite TV shows, Letterkenny, where he plays Stuart.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he's very funny. But most people, I feel like, who don't watch Letterkenny but do watch Supernatural, obviously would recognize him for his role in Supernatural. Season 8, he plays Alfie/Samandriel.
And they would never realize how good he is at comedy, I guess, because that wasn't a very comedic time.
No, not a comedic role at all.
Nope.
Sam's not intimidated by Matt's pet tarantula, and it makes me sad that Sam doesn't have a pet tarantula, even though I don't like tarantulas and I don't want to have to see one all the time. Sam just picks that thing up, like, no big deal.
Yeah, the tarantula would work on me. I would be traumatized.
Matt calls his dad Larry, and Sam's like, oof, call the old man by his first name.
If anyone can talk to you about daddy issues,
Sam can.
Yep.
Sam promises him that it gets better, and I love that Sam is immediately like, I identify with this child.
Yes.
Dean's very defensive of their dad when Sam points it out. He's very defensive of the fact that their dad didn't want Sam to just be like a normal kid when that's all that Sam wanted. And it makes me sad for Sam. There's a lot of... Dean, I feel like, gets a little gaslighty in this episode, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
One of Larry's surveyors died of bee stings about a year ago, giving them like a bug threat, but not a lot else to go on. Dean suggests that someone might be controlling the bugs, and they make a Willard reference, which seems obscure, but there was a remake of that movie in 2003, so the original one came out in 1971, but because of the remake in 2003, it might not have been as obscure a reference as I initially thought.
I guess it didn't do very well.
Yeah, I doubt that it did well. If you don't know what it's about a guy named Willard who uses his pet rat colony to terrorize and kill people, and the rats eat some people. It's gross.
Ew.
I did some reading. It was gross. It's like a horror thriller movie where, like, this guy, like, befriends some rats and then, like, he uses them to, like, terrorize people, but then it goes a little too far and then he's, like, horrified that they eat somebody.
They're rats.
Yeah.
What would you expect?
Yeah, literally. Sam says that sometimes people can have psychic connections, and Dean makes a Lassie reference and suggests that Matt, who keeps all kinds of insects as pets and hates his dad, might be a good suspect. Sam's not against the idea, but he isn't, like, leaping to, like, accuse Matt. He's like, yeah, okay, viable, I guess. Nothing you've said doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I kind of don't want it to be true, but it could be true.
I don't want it to be Matt, but, like, okay, like, I get it. But also, Dean implied that Lassie and Tim have a psychic connection, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen a full episode of Lassie, but I'm not sure if that's canon.
But it could be. If I ever watch that show.
Yeah, if anyone knows anything about Lassie, we were born in the late 90s, so it was a little bit before our time. But if you know about Lassie, tell us if Lassie and Tim, like, can read each other's minds. I didn't think that was part of it.
No, it didn't seem like that kind of show.
Dean takes them to go squat in one of the empty houses in the neighborhood. Apparently it's hooked up to utilities, even though no one owns it or is paying bills yet.
Anyway.
The water's hooked up. It doesn't matter. We see them squat in worse places. Sam's scandalized they're squatting in the house, even though it's literally something that they do often.
I mean, this is a good place to squat, honestly.
Yeah, it's brand new. No one owns it. It's not hurting anybody.
The utilities are inexplicably hooked up.
Linda is helpfully watching the news, where we learn that the mosquitoes have been a real problem this year, and that the state is spraying insecticide because of concerns about West Nile virus. And we see a really large, badly CGI spider on her face.
Still managed to freak me out, though. How did she not notice that?
I was giant. I don't know why they didn't just CGI a much smaller spider.
I get a hair on my arm and I freak out. How did she not notice a spider on her face?
I know. Also, I looked up to see if West Nile is a concern in Oklahoma, and it is. I was like, we don't really get West Nile here in Canada. We're like occasionally, but like we're really a bit north of that.
Yeah.
As things change in the world, that could change, but we don't get a lot of those. Like, we don't really deal with malaria or West Nile or Zika or any of those other, like, mosquito transmissible diseases. But apparently Oklahoma does deal with that to some extent, so.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, speaking of the bad CGI, the CGI in this one is horrible throughout. Skip to Linda in the steam shower, and honestly, it's funny how bad the CGI is with these spiders, like, coming out of the shower head. It's so bad.
I mean, it's gross enough for me to hate it, but, like, at the same time, I'm really scared of spiders, and I wasn't really that freaked out, because that's how bad it is.
They don't even really look like real spiders, like...
They look like Halloween toys.
Yeah. Linda, however, freaks out as though they're real spiders, and she busts through the shower door and then dies. Like, just breaks through the door, like, glass shattering and all.
Rip.
Dean is loving the steam shower at their place. And Sam's annoyed that Dean is enjoying himself. And they roll right up to the crime scene, park behind the police cruiser, and start chatting with Larry as though it's not a crime scene. And once again, who is in charge of this crime scene?
Maybe it's like the same guy at all the crime scenes, and we should have like a spin-off that's just about that guy.
Honestly, it's so bad. But they barely wait for the police. Like, the police cruiser's pulling away, and we see them, like, climbing a fence to break into this house, contaminating another crime scene. Like, just, they're right in there. I would not be buying a house in this neighborhood, not because it's cursed, but because anyone capable of climbing a fence can just break into any of the houses. It's not a big deal. They don't even struggle.
Oh my gosh. Like, they're really good at breaking into crime scenes, though. I'll give them that.
I'm pretty sure the police left a window open when they were taking the body outside.
Oh my gosh. What?
I don't think the window was actually open, but like, it was like so easy. Like, they didn't even wait for the police to drive away.
It kind of smells weird in here. Better crack a window.
The dead plastic spiders might be worse than the bad CGI spiders. There's no way these spiders are even remotely real. I can't believe they brought in real bees and didn't bring in real spiders.
The real spiders would have been better, honestly.
Like, they're dead. They just have to lay there. I can't believe they didn't find some dead spiders.
Just kind of go to the back of the lot they're shooting in, like, are there any spiders around here?
I can't believe they let loose 60,000 live bees and use plastic spiders that look like they're from the dollar store.
That is so many bees. Oh my gosh, how do you collect all that many bees?
We'll get to the bees. Dean suggests Matt again might be involved, and Sam says Matt, like he's gonna argue, and then says, yeah, maybe. Like, he was like about to get mad, and he's like, you know what, actually, we don't have any reason to think it's not Matt.
He's got a motive.
So they follow Matt, who's getting off the school bus. Again, a child is being followed into the woods by two large grown men.
That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, into the woods. It's fine.
It's a grandmother's house.
I was just about to say no before dark. Just some theater nerds. Matt is collecting, I think it's a stick insect. It might be a praying mantis. Bugs aren't my thing.
There's a pretty big difference between those two bugs, though.
I know, but they look sort of similar. It's not like they zoom in on the bug for more than 3 seconds.
That's fair.
Matt's just like chilling with it for the rest of the scene.
Stick bugs seem kind of chill.
Yeah, they do. Anyway, Sam and Dean freak Matt out. He immediately knows that they're not here to buy a house, and is like, are you guys serial killers?
Well, yes, but not really in the sense you think.
Sam's like, no, we're not serial killers. Again, it has only been 2 episodes since Skin where they were definitely serial killers.
They technically are serial killers. They just don't really kill humans that often.
Yeah, they do kill a lot of things. In the eyes of the government, they are 100% serial killers. Matt also knows about the other deaths, Dustin and the surveyor dude.
Seems like a smart kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't hard to put that together. He has something to show the boys, and he said he tried to talk to his dad about what was happening with the other deaths and the bugs and the weird stuff he's about to show the boys, but he wasn't listening. Sam's really sympathetic to that, and Sam assures Matt that in 2 years he'll be able to go to college, and Dean's feelings are immediately hurt.
This isn't about you, Dean.
Do you know, my man? I'm sorry you feel abandoned by your brother, but he got a full ride to Stanford on a broken education and got away from your abusive dad, so let's take a minute to separate our own own emotions and abandonment issues and think about how incredible of a feat that was for Sam to accomplish.
I know, right? Like, come on, this kid doesn't have it as bad as Sam did, but, like, he doesn't have a great relationship with his dad, and university's gonna be great for him.
He's like a weird, smart kid. Like, let him go be with the other weird, smart kids and, like, enjoy life.
Because, like, that's where they congregate at post-secondary education.
Yeah, like, just, like, let him be around people who appreciate his interests. Matt's gonna have new interests by the end of this episode anyway, so...
Oh, probably.
Sam turns fully around like he was gonna hit Dean or something when Dean looks upset that Matt would want to go to college and get away from his dad.
How dare he?
But he doesn't hit Dean. Matt takes them to this clearing of nightmares where there are just insects everywhere.
I want to use that somewhere. Clearing of nightmares.
You just did, but feel free, you can have that.
I'll credit you.
Earthworms are not bugs, just an FYI. I feel like that's important to note.
This is true.
They are gross. I'm on board as far as creepy crawly things go. I think that worms are fine, but they're not bugs.
I mean, how specific are we gonna get? They should have just called this episode Creepy Crawlies.
Honestly, no, actually, bugs is just kind of catchy. I was gonna say actually like creepy crawlies better, but like this episode's so bad it doesn't deserve 2 words.
It doesn't deserve a name that good.
Dean digs his bare hand just right into like his pit of earthworms. Yeah. I mean, as far as all of the bugs in the world go, I guess that if I had to pick one to stick my hand into, I guess I'd go with earthworms. But
I mean, they don't really do anything except eat dirt and dig.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would still be traumatized, but yeah, I would never eat noodles again.
We used to have worms in my basement, like in like a tub, like a Rubbermaid bin, and you like feed them compost, and then you take the dirt out and put it in your yard.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fine, but like you didn't have to touch them that much, so baller move honestly for Dean to just reach right in there and pull out a human skull. It gets worse honestly than the worms, because then he pulls out a human skull.
Wow, where did that come from?
Not sure what they said to Matt, or he allowed them to drop him back at home after that, because in the next scene Matt's gone. Like, he didn't go with them. I'm not sure what they said to him, to be like, you should go home now.
There are dead people in these woods. You should go home if you don't want to be one of them.
If I was, like, a 16-year-old kid, and, like, I showed some dudes, like, a pile of insects, and they pulled out a skull, I'd be like, I want to go with you guys to find out who this skull belongs to. I'm not going home.
This is cool. I deserve credit.
Yeah, I'm not. It was my clearing of nightmares. It's more than one skeleton. It's a bunch of skeletons in an unmarked grave, and they move the bones.
That's a really bad idea.
They desecrated a grave that was covered in homicidal insects. Didn't call the authorities or anything, and they just took the bones with them.
Wait, I missed that. I forgot about that.
They had them in a cardboard box in the car.
Oh my gosh! You guys are supposed to be good at this!
They brought them to the university.
It's like, where did you find these bones? That's not important.
They packed the bones into a cardboard box and put them in the backseat of the car like it was like friggin' office supplies.
And they want people to think they're not serial killers.
We stop outside the university to have another argument about John. Sam says he respected their dad, but John was always disappointed in him for wanting a normal life, and Dean compares him to the Munsters, which is a show about a family of monsters where Sam's like the non-monstrous niece, making them the odd ones out in the family for being normal.
Aww.
It was just so funny that Sam's like, I want a normal life, I want to be normal, and they're like, yeah, you're like so weirdly normal compared to the rest of us, and then Sam isn't normal compared to anybody.
Meanwhile, they're having this discussion while there's a cardboard box of bones that they stole.
Sam is the most likely Winchester for other hunters to want to kill because he's not normal.
Oh man.
We haven't really gotten to any of that plot yet, but we're gonna get there soon in a couple episodes.
Then we can discuss how that was actually kind of a brilliant move.
And Sam breaks my heart only for it to be fused back together with my undying rage for John Winchester's existence.
There we go.
Because Sam tells Dean that when most kids score a full ride to college, especially an Ivy freaking school like Stanford, they're proud, but their dad threw Sam out of the house. Dean points out that Sam said some very terrible things in that fight, and no.
No.
No, I can't, Dean. I can't. Because Sam was 17 or 18 years old, and John was a full grown-ass man. So it is not Sam's job as a child to emotionally regulate the situation. I think it says a lot about Dean, because that's his instinct, is to, like, it doesn't matter, like, who's right or wrong. I just need to make sure that, like, the situation gets diffused. But, oh my god, I hate that Dean is, like, pushing this point with Sam. I hate it.
Yeah, like, he has not fully realized or acknowledged that their dad was pretty abusive, and he's still defending him, and